Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Our Home Ground. I believe this is episode 8, which is crazy. I'm having so much fun doing this. I know I say that at the beginning of every episode, but I am having a lot of fun. I will say this week's episode is, I don't know, it's been hard for me to get motivated to do this episode because I just don't really have a specific thing that I want to talk about. I feel like the past several weeks I've had the guests on and I've been having so much fun with that and very specific moments and things I wanted to talk about. And then this is the first week where it's kind of just been well, what do I do now? So it is just me this week. And so I'm just going to do kind of a mixed bag episode where we talk about some of the things that are going on in the different leagues. We'll touch on WSL, NWSL, a little bit of my favorite German team. And then the Champions League starts again this week. By the time this podcast releases, one of the nights of this week's Champions League matches will have already played. And Arsenal plays then. So hopefully it goes really, really well. But we'll see about all that. We can get into that a little bit when we start talking about the WSL table. But I think where I wanted to start is that this season there have been returns of a few familiar faces that I'm really excited about that I think are really good for the game of football. And so I think they're worth mentioning. First of all, Sam Kerr has made her return after 634 days. I think Meg and I touched on that just a little bit in the last one, but it's incredible to see her back playing football, to be back after such a long time out. She tore her ACL in January of 2024 and she came back just 2 weeks ago. So that's so exciting. She is such a fun player to watch. She's been so good for the game, not only just in Australia, but also she was crucial to the start of the NWSL. She was such a big player towards the beginning of this league and then has been incredible for the WSL as well. And so I think it's just really, really exciting for her to be back. She scored on her debut. She was on the field for 20 minutes total and scored in extra time for Chelsea, which I wish it wasn't for Chelsea that she scored, but the fact that Sam Kerr is back to scoring goals is really, really exciting. And she seems to be in a good place and felt really relieved to be able to do that per her conversation with Sam Ewis on the Women's Game Friendlies episode. So that's very exciting. Another player who has returned, and this happened at the beginning of the season, is Lena Oberdorf, who made her sort of league debut and competitive debut for Bayern Munich. She signed for them last summer, last June, and then unfortunately tore her ACL right after she signed, really close to before the Olympics. And so it's really, really good to have her back. Tobin Heath said that she's the best six in the world. And this was before she tore her ACL. She was young, up and coming young player of the tournament for the Euros in 2022. So it's really good for the game to have Lena back playing soccer. Very exciting. So we'll kind of see how that goes. I'm keeping a close eye on that. And then also on the Bayern note, Julia Gwynn is back after she sustained that knee injury at the Euros. She was captain for Germany and then got injured in the very first game, knee injury. So she's already back. So I'm excited for that for her because I think everyone just kind of assumed that it would be the worst, that it would be the ACL, and it wasn't. So she's back just a few months later. So I'm really, really happy for her on that front. I do think that we do have a long list of injury watch, and this is just WSL injuries because to try to do all the NWSL stuff too would be crazy. But a few notable things that I do want to point out that are happening in the WSL. Millie Turner is out until probably after Christmas for United. Again, somebody who we assumed the worst, for sure thought it was an ACL tear. Luckily, it wasn't. She's got some other knee stuff going on, so they're handling that, and they think that she'll be back training around Christmas time. So probably be back at the start of the year, which is just really unfortunate for her because she's been a key player for United for multiple years, and then they qualified for the Champions League. She did play in some of the Champions League qualifying games, but unfortunately will not be able to play in any of this league phase of the Champions League that we'll talk about in a little bit. So it's just such a bummer to be such a part of a club and all of that and to get them to this point and then not be able to participate has to be really, really hard. So there's that. Leah Williamson is still out after she sustained that knee injury reportedly in the finals of the Euros. She had surgery, I guess, upon return to the club, and she still appears to be in the brace and is not bending her knee yet when she's walking. So she certainly has weeks left out, I would imagine. I don't think we've gotten a real update. We were supposed to get an update, I think last week. Renee had said before, not this past weekend's games, but the weekend before, that Leah was getting tests done at the end of the week, and hopefully we would have some more information early into the next week. And I don't think we heard anything. So I'm trying not to think that that means something bad. Hopefully she's progressing fine and there's just like not a lot to say about it. So hopefully that is going well for her. Clearly a big loss for Arsenal. Lauren Hemp is out for City for a couple of weeks. She sustained a like foot/ankle injury early on in the season, so she's out for a couple of weeks. Caroline is also out for City for a couple of weeks with a lower body injury. They haven't said exactly what's going on with her. They just said that, we're running tests, we're seeing what's going on there. So that's two really fast, really talented wingers for City. I had said in my like roundup of transfers episode that if they could stay healthy, they're a really, really dangerous side. I think even without those two, they're a very dangerous side. We saw that they beat Arsenal over the weekend without either of those players. And they're just kind of like working around it. Kirsten Kasperai has been incredible for them in the way that they're utilizing her and the overlapping runs and all of it. It's just, if I was a City fan, I'd be really, really excited. I'm not a City fan, so that's really not great for me. Jill Bailings, I think is how they've been pronouncing her name in comms. I don't actually know how to pronounce her last name. She plays for Aston Villa. Unfortunately, she tore her ACL in their match against Arsenal, not this past weekend, but the weekend before. So, wishing her all of the best in that recovery. Um, Myra Ramirez is still out for Chelsea. She had surgery on a thigh injury, and they think that she'll probably be out until around Christmas time. So, probably won't see her until the start of the year, which is a real bummer because she is such a talented player and really exciting and fun to watch. Um, I think now that Chelsea are getting Sam Kerr back, they have some other great options there, and they have like a plethora of riches. I'm not worried about Chelsea for a minute, unfortunately. But yeah, sucks for Myra. Would really love to see her playing. We're gonna go on a bit of a Chelsea rant for a moment. Not rant, but they have lots of injuries that I'm actually watching, paying attention to. Next player is Lauren James, who reportedly is progressing in her recovery from the ankle foot injury situation that she sustained at the Euros. It's really interesting to hear her talk about that post Euros and how she was getting a lot of like hate for the way she was playing, or like online people were saying a bunch of stuff that she's like dropped off or whatever, and that we don't ever know the full story of what's going on, which I think is absolutely true. She was fighting an injury. She wanted to play through it. Serena wanted her to play through it if she could, or felt, I guess, okay with her playing through it. And so she tried to, and she knew where her limits were, and she took herself out in the final pretty early on. And so hopefully we get to see her back. I believe that she's like back on the grass. I don't know if she's in team training yet, but Sonia said that Neve, Lucy, and LJ are all back on the grass, so that's good. Lucy Bronze is back on the pitch, though per the pregame presser from this past weekend, so before like October 3rd, they said she wasn't quite game ready. Chelsea social media did post a funny training relay competition thing video, and Lucy Bronze was in that, like doing the sprints and stuff. So I don't know if she's back into like contact training yet or not, but she's certainly running around out there doing her little Lucy Bronze thing, being so competitive as always. Neve Charles is also back on the pitch, but in the same boat, like back on the grass, potentially in team training, but not quite game ready yet. The other person I want to talk about from Chelsea that's so frustrating for me that she's not back yet is Naomi Girma. I'm sure it's nowhere near as frustrating as it is for her, but I just want to see her play. I want her to bring all of her talent and skills and stuff to the WSL so that people can understand why I've been talking about Naomi Girma and what a huge signing that was for Chelsea for so long. But she's been injured basically since she got there. She did play a couple of games at the end of last season, but she's just such a talented player. She's listed as having like a calf shin heel injury, and she's yet to have played this season. But on like the 18th of September, Sonia said that they were expecting maybe early to mid October for her, which is like now. So maybe she will be getting, healthier and getting back to game ready soon. One can hope. I just love watching Naomi Girma play. She is so talented. Not that I want Chelsea to have any more talent to come back, but you never want anybody to be injured. So there's that. Rachel Laws, a goalie for Liverpool, is recovering from a wrist and hand injury. Another player that I was really intrigued about is Danielle Vandendonk. She came to London City Lionesses over the summer. She signed, I think it was like right before the Euros, they announced her, and she hasn't played yet. Turns out that when she got there, she was having some like knee pain. So they were doing a lot of testing on that. They have ruled out surgery, but she's not quite back to training yet. She is running, they said, but doesn't seem like she is like into training yet. So hopefully she can continue on a good, recovery trajectory and we can see her soon because having her back in the WSL would be really, really fun. And then the last player that I'm going to talk about is Lily Murphy. She's young. We're really excited about her for Man City. Unfortunately, first game of the season when they played Chelsea, she injured her shoulder. She has undergone a successful shoulder surgery, but will be out for a couple of months. This feels very reminiscent of Niamh Charles last season, which is just like such an unfortunate injury. Happens. She fell on it wrong. And so hopefully she will be recovering soon. There are two players, especially that I want to talk about that are at new clubs that are making a big impact and I think are really, really exciting. One of which, of course, is Alyssa Thompson at Chelsea. She got her first start recently. She's gotten some game time, I think, in maybe not the first game or the second game, but every game after that. So the last three games, she had her first start. It's just very, very exciting to see such young talent from the US, somebody that we're so excited about to be showing up at a team like Chelsea and then making an impact and like being deserving of like game time and all of that. Like all of us US Women's National Team fans knew that that would be the case. And I'm wearing my Angel City shirt today. So like Angel City fans knew that she was so good. And so I hope that she settles in really well. I hope she's so successful and I hope she becomes so, so good so that she can be back on the US Women's National Team, like, I don't know, beating Spain and England. That's all I have to say about that. And then the other player that I want to mention, maybe there's two actually, are both in the NWSL. First, I want to start with Jaden Shaw. She got traded to Gotham quite recently and has slotted in so well and just seems to be settling in really, really well there, which is really exciting. I think when she went to North Carolina from San Diego, a lot of us had a lot of like high hopes that she would settle in well there. They couldn't quite figure out how to make her and Ashley Sanchez work together on the pitch, and so it just ended up not being a good situation for her. She didn't get a lot of game time. And so there was a lot of discussion about like, is she the player that we all thought she was? Like which is probably not fair at all because since she's been at Gotham, it's like, yeah, she is. She is the player that we thought that she was. She is fantastic. She has fit into their system so well. And so I'm really excited for her. She's young. I want nothing more than for her to be really successful. And then the other player that I want to talk about just got traded like last week. It's M.A. Vignola. I don't actually know how to pronounce her last name. I maybe should have figured that out. Which is funny because I'm an Angel City fan. She got traded from Angel City. M.A. Vignola is what I've always called her. So we're gonna go with that. Um, she got traded to Portland last week, and made her debut with Portland this weekend. Seems to be slotting in well there. I mean, she started for them in their first game that she was there. So really excited for her and hope that, that can go really well for her. She's a great player. She got like a couple of call-ins with the US Women's National Team, but then dropped out. So hopefully she'll be able to at Portland get that kind of development. She plays left back. We need a left back on the US Women's National Team sort of for a long-term solution. And MA might be able to be that because she would be like roughly about the right age. Like she's on the younger side, mid-20s, I think. So that might be a really exciting thing coming down the pike for the US Women's National Team. We'll see what happens there. But I do want to talk about while we're on the NWSL, the NWSL table playoff push is heating up. I think there's 3 games left before the playoffs start. So it's a really, really exciting time in the NWSL. If any of you are not American or don't follow the NWSL, there is a league winner, and then there's also the championship. Top 8 teams qualify for the playoffs, and then they play through until they have a winner. And so it's fun. It's so exciting. The table is quite close. Chicago Chicago is kind of far off with only 16 points. in 14th. And 13th actually is Bay with only 19 points. Utah Royals have been on like kind of a tear lately. I don't think that they're going to be able to actually qualify for the playoffs, but they have been on a great trajectory, which is really interesting because Ali Sentnor, their number 9 and like a rising star for the US Women's National Team, left, and they've been like doing better since. And I think you see that sometimes with teams when there's like a star that you're trying to build your team around, it doesn't go that well. And then maybe once they're gone, they're able to like try something else, really unify as a team differently. I don't actually know anything about what's going on with Utah. I don't follow them closely, except that they've been like doing very well lately. So that's exciting. But like Angel City has 24 points in 11th, Houston 27 in 10th, North Carolina 28 in 9th, San Diego with 31 in 8th. So San Diego with 31 points is in the playoffs right now, but it's close around there. If San Diego, don't pick up some wins and North Carolina / Houston do, then maybe there could be some movement there. I mean, theoretically, if Angel City went on a tear, they could. Angel City has actually played one less game than the other teams because they play tonight, Monday night, against Kansas City. I mean, it would be wild if they picked up points against Kansas City, who has already secured that they have won the league. Insane Kansas City run this year. It's been incredible. I don't love it, but it's been incredible. Very exciting there. So like I said, Kansas City has already won the league. They have 56 points right now with 3 games remaining. Washington Spirit is in second, and they have clinched a playoff spot for sure. So that's very exciting for them. And then we have Gotham in third, Portland in fourth, Seattle in fifth, Orlando in sixth, Racing in seventh, and then San Diego in eighth for now. But third through eighth, Gotham has 35 points and San Diego has 31. So that part of the table is like super close. Gotham only has 1 point over Portland and Seattle. So, anyways, lots of exciting stuff there to see where everybody falls in the table. Really exciting time to be watching the NWSL. Every game sort of feels like a final at this point because everybody's trying to either clinch a playoff spot or sort of like solidify where they are in the table because that matters who has home games, all of those kinds of things. So, very exciting time in the NWSL. The WSL table is it is what it is. It's early on. They've played 5 games. Everybody has played 5 games except Villa and Liverpool because the Villa Liverpool game was postponed to a later date following the death of Matt Beard, which I am very, very supportive of. I think that was the right call. But the table now sits Chelsea in first, City in second, Tottenham in third, Man United in fourth, Arsenal in fifth, Brighton in sixth, London City Lionesses in seventh, Villa in eighth, Everton in ninth, Leicester City, Liverpool, and West Ham rounding out our bottom 3. West Ham and Liverpool have yet to win a game so far this season, which I think is unfortunate. I don't know that we were expecting this from Liverpool to have such a rough start to the season, but it's happening. So there's that. And then I think at the top of the table, nobody's surprised that it's Chelsea. Some of us are annoyed, but nobody is surprised. Chelsea did tie Man United this past weekend on the Friday night game, which I think is really interesting. I think United is a strong side. I'm intrigued to see how their squad depth sets them up for the full season because they're also playing in the Champions League and then assuming they'll want to be also fighting for the Subway Cup and the FA Cup. So that's 4 competitions for them. Their squad depth, I think, might become a problem for them, or it might not. Who knows? But City in second with 4 wins out of 5. They lost to Chelsea in the opening game and then have won every game since. Tottenham, 4 wins out of 5. Unfortunately for me, they are doing quite well. United, 3 wins out of 5. United has not lost yet. They tied Arsenal and Chelsea, which I think I saw this really interesting video, and they were really talking about I don't know if it was a video. Maybe I was reading it. Anyways, it was talking about Arsenal's difficulty in trying to win the league in the past few seasons. And it's like we haven't like lost both games to the top teams we like tie or beat like City, Chelsea, United. But then we drop points. We being Arsenal drop points to like mid-table teams in places that they shouldn't, which the pattern has continued so far this season. But to see United like being able to like take some points off Chelsea, I think is great. I would have loved if City could have taken some points off Chelsea as well, but we'll see what happens. I think there's a lot of pressure on Chelsea from a lot of different angles. I think there's obviously they are top contender to win the WSL, and I think that that is highly likely. I just I don't actually care if they win the league again. I mean, 7 in a row. Would it be 7 in a row or 6 in a row? I think it's 7. Is just like annoying. Like I'm just annoyed about it. But if they win it, fine. I just hope that they don't do it undefeated again. I feel like it would be really fun if they lost a game. Just in my, unbiased opinion, of course. But whatever. It'll be whatever it is. They're an incredible side. I think I said in my transfer window episode that City is a sneaky good side. I continue to believe that that is true, especially with the way that they're utilizing Kirsten Kasperai. They can play in the back three and send her up. I just think it's fabulous if and when they get Lauren Hemp and Caroline back. Like I think they have good squad depth. I think they have all kinds of good things that they could use. And they're also not playing in Champions League, so their squad depth will be they don't need to stretch it as far as compared to like United. Um yeah, so I think that kind of rounds out my chat about the WSL table. Um because I just don't have a lot to say. I'm not feeling very inspired as an Arsenal fan. But it'll be fine. Nobody needs to like panic and worry. Arsenal will get it together, hopefully. Anyways, Champions League begins this week, and that's really exciting. There is a new format this year. So there's no groups. They're doing this sort of like league format in which there were like 3 pots of teams. Every team plays 2 teams from each pot, and they were like ranked based on like strength, pot A being the strongest, then B and C. Pot A had Arsenal, reigning champions, which I think is such an interesting place for them to be after the kind of start that they had this season. But they had the same kind of start last season, and then won the Champions League. So who knows what Arsenal's going to do? Anyways, pot 1, Arsenal, reigning champions, Barcelona, OL Lyon, Chelsea, Bayern Munich, and Wolfsburg. Pot 2 has PSG, Real Madrid, Juventus, Benfica, Roma, and St. Polten. And then pot 3 has Twente, Valerenga, Paris FC, Man United, Atleti, and OH Leuven. So each team will play 2 teams from each of the pots. So I just pulled out some of the notable games that I am going to be trying to watch from each of the 6 game weeks. There's 6 games total. And then it really is just going to be ranked on like points, goal differential, all that kind of stuff. It's not divided into groups. So I'm really intrigued because it is like the Champions League, and now it's actually going to like follow the format of a league, which I find really interesting. They did this, I guess, with the Men's Champions League last year for the first time. Apparently seemed to like how it went. So now the men are doing it again this year, and the women are as well. So we'll see. But this week, the week of October 7th and 8th, games that I care about, which some of these will play the night before this podcast release, so this will be too late for you. But Arsenal versus Lyon at Arsenal. Barca is playing Bayern. Chelsea is playing Twente, and Wolfsburg is playing PSG. I do find it interesting that Chelsea is not playing one of the pot 1 or pot A teams first, whereas like obviously Arsenal and Lyon are, Barca and Bayern are. So there's that. Wolfsburg isn't either, but I'm just saying what a way to start. Arsenal versus Lyon, the reigning champs versus the team that has won it the most times and historically is seen as like the dominant team in the Champions League. So I'm really excited about it. It's at home for Arsenal Tuesday at 2. I don't know why I'm telling you all of these things. It will have already happened, and hopefully I'll be really happy. I am a little bit nervous, but last year in the Champions League when Arsenal played Lyon, it went very well for us. So, well, the second game did, you know? Anyways, so that is the first game week. Yeah. Second game week, games that I'm excited about. Bayern is playing Juventus, which I think could be an interesting game. And then PSG is playing Real Madrid. Third game week, the week of the 11th and 12th of November, is Lyon versus Wolfsburg. I think could be interesting. Again, Wolfsburg has a lot of history in the Champions League. Bayern versus Arsenal at Bayern, I think could also be a very interesting game. And then Man United versus PSG. This might be the game that I'm the most excited about because it's sort of like the Mary Earps Derby. She sorry, Derby. You guys spell the word, you guys being the English people, spell the word like Derby, but pronounce it Darby, and that is just like very confusing to my brain. Um, Whatever. Mary Earps Derby is happening. United versus PSG. I think that will be such an entertaining, and I think it'll be a really good game too. So we'll see what happens there. Then the 19th or 20th of November that week, Wolfsburg is playing United. Arsenal is playing Real Madrid, which again, they played them last year in the Champions League. Sort of run up. What they play in the quarters? Yeah, because they played Lyon in the semis and then Barca. So, that should be an interesting game, if anything, like last year. Chelsea plays Barca that week. I'm so excited about that game because I, for one, oh, I didn't even mean to say that. I was gonna say I, for one, have loved all of the like Twitter things, all the like I, for one, would 8-2 be a Chelsea fan because they lost 4-1 and then 8-2 on aggregate. If you know, you know. It was very funny. In the same way that I still love, there's like two accounts on Twitter who are Arsenal fans who like anytime Stina does anything or Beth does anything or Arsenal in general does anything, they'll be like, it was very reminiscent of when Arsenal won the Champions. And like they keep bringing it back to that every time. And it makes me laugh every time. So, anyways, some people on the internet are very funny, and I appreciate that. And then also the same week of the 19th or 20th of November, PSG is playing Bayern, which I think could also be an interesting game. Game week 5, which is the 9th or 10th of December, Real Madrid is playing Wolfsburg, which I think could be interesting. And then Man United is playing Lyon, which I think could also be a very interesting game because it's in Manchester in December, which I just feel like could be a very, very rough kind of atmosphere to come play in. So I'm excited to see what happens there. And then the 17th and 18th of December, the game week 6 is Wolfsburg versus Chelsea, and then Juventus versus United, which I think will be interesting. I've noticed just now that I've put a lot of United games on here. I think I'm really intrigued to see how they do in the Champions League. I'm excited for them to be there. And so I just think it's going to be really fun. And I hope that they do really well. Would love nothing more than to have three English teams through to the quarterfinal again, like we had last year. And then hopefully they don't play each other again immediately. But we'll see what happens. I think I love the Champions League. I think it's so fun. And I love that other mm, countries, areas, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I just love that other areas of the world are trying to do similar things. Like the US and Mexico and Canada are trying to do like a kind of similar thing. And obviously it's not going to have the prestige of the Champions League yet, but like as all of these leagues around the world continue to grow, hopefully we can have other things like the Champions League because it is such a big deal. That's why so many people like from the US and places other than Europe want to go play in Europe. Why so many European players want to stay there is because you get to play in the Champions League. And so here we go. It starts this week. I'm excited about it. Arsenal defending their title, coming into the season with kind of a rough start, which just like kind of seems to be what Arsenal does. Don't love it, but here we are. The last thing I want to talk about on this episode, which I feel like has just been me like rambling, I don't know, maybe it was interesting, maybe it wasn't. The last thing I want to talk about is I want to give a shout out to all of the media people who are creating social media or other kinds of media content for women's soccer. I just love every single thing that you guys are doing. I don't know if any of you are even here listening, but it's just you guys make the game accessible in the like players and the personalities of the players accessible in a way that I will never get from watching the like 90 minutes on TV because like I talked about in the episode with Laura, like we don't get to see all the like fun on pitch interactions before and after the game, during warm-ups, like when they come out for pitch inspection, when they see the players on the other teams, when they're like hugging or laughing and joking with their teammates or their friends on the other teams or whatever. Like we don't get to see any of that when we're watching on TV. So those of you who are capturing that content before and after games, thank you. I really, really appreciate it. And then also the people who go in on like these teams media days and create content for like YouTube and like longer form content. I have been, well, sort of the like fate of the world right now has like felt as an American like very, very bad. And I just feel like we're not in a good place. And I know that there are a lot of really complicated, really things that I would argue are bad as well, happening in the UK. And obviously there's so much going on in the world right now. We don't need to get into all of that here in this episode. But I've just been like going to YouTube and going back and watching some of my favorite videos because they just bring me so much joy. The players are funny. Accessing things that they're like willing to share, I think is so much fun and a great way to feel like connected to clubs, to players, to teams when I'm really far away. Um, and it's just silly and it makes me giggle and I'm like laughing out loud, giggling, kicking my feet. So I'll just tell you some of my favorite ones that I've been watching. My favorite video potentially of all time that I come back to regularly is the goggle box from 2023 from the Lionesses. One of the funniest videos of all time, in my opinion. The players they had on it were great. The clips they chose, great. I cannot wait for 2025's Gogglebox. 2024 is as funny too. But 2023 is just like takes the cake with Lucy and LJ and Toonie and Les. Like it's just so, so funny. And I love it so much. So that brings me a lot of joy. Um, Similarly and related and is in Gogglebox, but is its also own standalone video, is the Read My Lips challenge with Ella Toon and Alessia Russo. So funny. I cackle every single time and it's great. It's like 10 minutes long. Gogglebox is a little longer. It's like 20 minutes ish. Um, but the Read My Lips challenge is like 9 minutes and it's so funny. All of those are so funny actually. Um, Lucy did it with Jordan Knobs and I think it was Chloe Kelly and Lauren Hemp. Anyways, there's multiple of them, so those are really funny. And then my current hyperfixation video, which is like on my power rankings list, probably number one, but is for sure in the top three of all time, is Honesty Cards with Beth Mead and Leah Williamson. It's short, it's like 5 minutes, and I just think it's so funny. There are so many funny parts of that. So, anyways, those are some of the videos that I've been watching that are bringing me joy because we just need that right now, I feel like. And so do the things that like make you happy, even if you've watched the video 97,000 times, do it again. Like, why not? Um, and yeah, I'm just so thankful for the people who like make these videos and spend the time going and seeing the girls on media days. And I know that not everybody who does that like does content creation for a living, and so they're taking time off their like normal jobs. I just think it's so cool. And also, I guess I'm real thankful to the players who participate and like let us see this because it's so funny. Oh, the other really good one that I watched today. Sorry, I have another one. Is Leah Williamson and Kira Walsh. I think it's called Time to Chat. Um, so funny. It's just so funny. I could quote it all day long, but I won't because I try to do an English accent and it's terrible. So I'm not going to do that on here right now. But yeah, anyways, thank you to all the people who create the content. Thank you to the players for being willing to make this kind of content because it's just entertaining and it's bringing joy into the world even like years after you've done it. So would highly suggest. US Women's National Team hasn't posted as many of late, but they have really funny ones from I'd say the like 2019 era. There's some really funny stuff. And so, yeah, anyways, shout out to the content creators because I really, really love and appreciate all the things that you're doing. Anyways, that's all I have to say this week, which I feel like I actually went on for a longer time than I meant to, but I love making this podcast. I love getting to chat about it, even though I wasn't like that motivated because I didn't know what I was going to talk about. Apparently, I had plenty of things to talk about today. So, if you wouldn't mind giving us a like, a subscribe, a follow, we are on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, and TikTok. Anything you guys want to see from me, please let me know. I would love ideas. And so, yeah. Anyways, thanks so much for listening. Love you guys. Have a great rest of your week.